Hello everyone and welcome back. In this section, we'll begin looking at Microsoft Excel, which is our first piece of software that we'll be using for our data analysis. Microsoft Excel is probably the single most requested skill for data analyst positions, and especially so for entry-level data analysts. So it's essential to have a solid understanding of what it is and how to use it. And then this is exactly what we'll do over the next couple of sections. These sections will cover everything that you need to know. So even if you have no prior experience or knowledge of Excel, don't worry, we'll cover everything, starting with the fundamentals in this section, and then more advanced topics like pivot tables, functions, and more in the later sections. Let's go ahead now and get started inside of Excel. I'm using the 2021 version of Microsoft Office, but the topics covered in this course will work for any versions of Excel, so including older versions like either 2013, 2016, 2019, or as well as the Office 365 and Excel or Office for Mac. With that said, let's take a look at the Excel Start page. The Excel Start page provides us with a convenient place to open and create new workbooks. At the bottom here, we have a list of any recently opened or worked on spreadsheets, as well as any workbooks that you might have pinned for quick access. Along the top, you'll find a list of different templates that you'll be able to use. And then you also have the option to search for additional templates over here on the right. But we'll be creating our own blank workbook, and we can do that by clicking up here on the blank workbook option. So this is now a completely new blank workbook in Excel. And before we add anything to our workbook, let's take a moment to go over the structure and layout of our spreadsheet. When working in Microsoft Excel, you will always be working on what is referred to as a worksheet. So a worksheet is similar to a page in a notebook, and it can be used to separate content and data into different pages. And down here in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see a list of all your different spreadsheets. So currently we only have one worksheet, which is called Sheet 1. We can add new worksheets by clicking on the little plus button here, and as you can see, we now have two worksheets. So we have Sheet 1, and now we have Sheet 2. So we can rename our worksheets by either double-clicking or right-clicking and then clicking on Rename. And then from here we can set it to whatever we want. So, example here, I'll set mine to Worksheet 2. So our collection of worksheets, now that we have two, have Sheet 1 and Worksheet 2, make up what is called our workbook. And our workbook is the Excel file that we create, save, and open. So if we look up here at the top, we'll see the name of our workbook, and this is currently called Book 1. We're done now with the second worksheet, so I can go ahead and show you. In order to delete a worksheet, all we have to do is right-click and hit delete. Let's now move on to discussing the actual layout of our worksheet itself. Within each worksheet, you will have a collection of rows and columns. So our columns can be found at the top of our worksheet, and they are identified by letters. So this here is column C, and here we have column E. So if you click on the column letter identifier, it will select the entire column. And similarly, we also have rows in Excel, and rows can be found over here on the left-hand side, and these are identified with numbers. So as an example here, this here is row 7, and this is row 9. Taking rows and columns a step further, we also have the concept of cells. So the intersection of a column and a row is referred to as a cell. For example, this cell here is cell E10. This is because it's the intersection of column E and row 10. And for another example, here we have cell D4, and again, this is because it's the intersection of column D and row 4. When you click on a cell, it becomes the active cell. And you can see this up here in the top left-hand corner where we have our name box. So the name box can be helpful when working with functions and formulas, but it also provides the added benefit of identifying the currently selected cell. And then another key term and feature within Excel is the range. And more specifically, a cell range is the collection of different cells. And to create a cell range, you can click and drag with your left mouse button, like so, and this will select multiple cells. As we described our cell before with the column and row, we can also describe a cell range. And to do this, we use a colon. So here we have cell E4 through cell I16, which as you can see on screen here, we can use a colon to indicate that this is a range. The next thing I'd like to discuss are these different tabs that we have across the top of this screen. You'll always start on the Home tab However, we also have the option of choosing different tabs like the Insert tab, the Page Layout, Formulas, Data tab, and so on and so forth. So as you click to these different tabs, you'll see that the tools and commands available below change. The part that houses these commands is known as the ribbon. So if we click into the Insert tab, we'll get the Insert ribbon. Each ribbon is divided into groups. As you can see here, these groups are separated by lines. So within our Insert ribbon, we have a Tables group, Illustrations group, and so on and so forth. Now, we'll explore a lot of these tabs and associated commands as we progress throughout the course. Then finally, down in the bottom right, we have our Zoom slider. And here we can zoom either in or out so that we can better see our dataset. Additionally, you can also use the Control plus mouse wheel as a shortcut for this. So that's everything that you need to know about the layout and structure of our Excel worksheets and the workbook, as well as the placement of the different tools available within Excel. So to recap very quickly, the Excel workbook is the file that we created at the start of the lecture. And then within our Excel workbook, which here we can see is called Book 1, we also have worksheets. And a worksheet is made up of rows, columns, and cells. In the next lecture, we'll have a look at how to enter data into our Excel workbook, as well as perform some initial formatting on our data.